Wildcat fans, and welcome to another edition of the Cat's Corner presented by our friends at Gate Chevrolet. I am your host for the day, Coach P, and as always, I'm joined at the desk by the head coach of the boys basketball program here at Riley, Mr. Alex Daniel, the Big Cat himself. What's going on, Coach?
Not a whole lot. Good week and ready for the next one.
All right, so you say not a whole lot. I disagree, sir, because I got a whole pile of paperwork here that we're about to go through. A couple of games last week, got a couple of big games coming up this week. We also had a big event last week that we're gonna talk about. And as a matter of fact, let's just start off there. So we had a big game against St. Joe last week, a big win against St. Joe. We'll get to the details of that in a second. But along with that game, we had a big community event going on. We called it Just for Kicks. We were basically accepting donations of shoes and then passing those on to a number of community organizations that we had partnered with. Just talk about the event, how it went. Were you happy with the outcome?
Yeah, I'm really happy. Just exceeded expectations. I think we probably around somewhere about 500 pairs of shoes and going to be able to give back a lot to those organizations. So feel really good about what we did and excited to drop those off and, kind of put it in the first year here. And hopefully it's something that we can continue to do in the future.
All right. So big shout out to us. Also shout out to St. Joe that worked with us on that. And also a shout out, of course, to our community partners that we are going to be forwarding those donations onto. All right. So now we're going to get into, I'd like to say the fun stuff, but the first game we're going to cover here is Northridge. So we rolled out there. Really tough team. They got a good big kid in the middle. They surround him with shooters. They're well coached. Pretty much everything that we expected going into that game is kind of what we got. Just talk about the matchup and how the game went and how you feel about the results.
Yeah, I think going into it, my biggest fear was, can we guard them? They run their offense really well. Like you mentioned, they can create a lot of space in the middle of the floor just because of how well they can shoot it for guys to be able to operate, like the big kid and Bales. And, for most of the game, I felt like we did a really good job defensively. Really, if you look at the numbers and, things they'd been doing versus what we held them to, we guarded them. Unfortunately, we just didn't shoot the ball very well on our end. We went 5 or 25 from three and missed some free throws. And so the combination of that really, kind of limited us in what we, mistake wise, what we could do. And ultimately, we still had a chance to win it, but didn't come up with enough plays near the end of the game. So
yeah, this one seems almost a little strange. The final score in this one was 42-41. I think coming into this one, most people were kind of expecting a high-scoring game. Both teams are going to get out and really try to push the action. You brought some of it up. Neither team really shot very well from the field. We were both right around 30%. So somehow this really turned into a defensive struggle. Did that surprise you?
Honestly, it didn't feel like that during the game, though. I understand the score is what it is, but I felt both teams still played with pace. I just think both teams really guarded each other. Obviously, shots neither team made as many shots as what they normally do, but I think we both had an effect on each other defensively, and so possession wise and points wise, it probably wasn't the expectation, but I didn't feel like it was a slowdown game by any means. So
that one really came down to really the last kind of handful of possessions, and then there. With about 2 seconds left, Mason Bales went to the free throw line, makes the first one to tie the game. We call a couple of timeouts back-to-back, trying to ice him. To his credit, comes out, hits the second one to put them up by one, and then ultimately secure the victory for Northridge. And then my understanding is he went out the next night and had a big game against Goshen, came out in the fourth quarter and led Northridge back. So heck of a player in Mason Bales, heck of a team in Northridge, and maybe the scariest thing about them is that they're so young. So moving forward, they're going to continue to be a problem. But hopefully we get to see them at some point in the future, and we'll see how the next contest goes. So after that one, we're kind of maybe shell-shocked a little bit, our first loss of the year. How did the team take that, and I guess what was your feelings coming out of that?
Yeah, I felt I think they were hurt, but at the same time, I don't think that they were defeated by any means. So that was good. You could tell right after the game that was something that, a little shocked, but at the same time, it was like, all right, we want to get back out there. And so I didn't feel like it was going to steamroll on us or anything like that. I mean, St. Joe was a tough opponent. I think could have gone either way, obviously, but I felt good about our guys' mentality and practice and coming up to that game.
And sometimes taking a loss, it can be a good thing, can't it?
Yeah. I didn't think that there was definitely some reality checks, and we're not invincible. And hindsight, it probably did some good for us.
Sure. All right, so we got out of there, moved on down the road, and we faced off next against St. Joe, or actually they came over to us. Kind of polar opposite in this game. We came out right from the jump, hitting shots, running in transition, really took control of the game early, built a very big lead in the first half. But then there in the second half, they kind of started chipping away. They've got some great players on their roster as well. What was your feelings for that game, and are you happy with the outcome? Obviously, we won, but are you happy with the final 79-72 score?
Yeah.
Take the win, right?
I'll take the win, but it was definitely a tale of two halves, and we're a very explosive team. They're a very explosive team, and so both of us showed that at different points during the game. And luckily we had a big enough lead and made enough plays down the stretch, stops down the stretch to be able to squeak one out. So
and Payton Baird was somebody that came through huge in that game. He'll be joining us on the show here shortly, actually. But 11 points in the fourth quarter. He actually had a big first quarter too, so he kind of started us off hot, and then closed things out for us. A couple of numbers that jump out. Field goal percentage. We were just talking in the Northridge game, and if we even go back further than that, the John Glenn game comes to mind. We haven't necessarily been shooting the ball great recently, but against St. Joe, we came out and we managed to hit 57% from the field, which obviously is a good number, but maybe even better for us was 54% from three. So just how did it feel to finally see a couple go in?
Yeah, there's going to be points like that during the season when shots aren't falling, but this group can shoot the basketball. Multiple guys can shoot the basketball. So I knew if we got a good rhythm offensively, the shots were going to start to fall. Obviously, being back at home probably helped a little bit. But yeah, it was good to see the ball go in the basket.
So throw a couple of other numbers there. Defensively, we held St. Joe. They were just 4 for 22 from three, so obviously a huge difference in the game there. But something else that jumped out to me that I was actually really impressed with, at the end of this game, we had 32 field goals made, and on those 32 made field goals, we had 24 assists, which I feel like is a pretty good ratio. Does that say something about the direction that the team is going?
I hope so. Yeah, and that's we want that. We want to share the basketball. We want to be a team that utilizes all 5 guys that are on the court because they're all capable. So that's going to make us a tough guard, and hopefully we can carry that over. That's a really high number, but hopefully we can carry that over as we continue to play.
So we're talking about assists. I'm going to throw some stat lines out there. I'll go ahead and start with Marv. He finished this one with 10 assists versus just 2 turnovers. So an outstanding game. He also added 8 points and 5 rebounds to his line. Some other guys that had great games. Payton Baird, 26 points, 5 rebounds. Aiden Kent came real close to being named the catalyst in this one. We kind of had to have a little bit of a debate. 15 points, 8 rebounds for him, and just made a lot of hustle plays, especially down the stretch. He seemed to kind of always be around the ball. And then Mansell Hill, 9 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists. Another overall kind of game, right? So goes to your point that we're really starting to do it as a team, spreading the ball around, and a lot of different guys are contributing to the win. So a big win against St. Joe. That moves us to 4-0 in the conference. A first place tie now with Washington, who also happens to be 4-0. Penn is 3-0. Washington goes to Washington goes to Northridge on Wednesday. Penn goes to Chesterton on Friday, and then they're both off until after the new year. So there's not going to be a whole lot of movement in the conference between now and then. So how do you feel about where we're at in terms of the conference race, and what do you see moving forward?
Obviously good, right where we want to be, and our guys have done a good job and narrowing in on those games and really concentrating on what we need to do in order to pick up victories. So obviously put ourselves in a good position, but there's a lot of basketball left to be played. So
just to throw a couple season numbers out there, Payton Baird is now leading the team in both scoring and assists. He's at about 13 and 7 a game. Marv is right behind him, scoring at about 12.5 and 4 assists a game. So those 2 guys are names that we mention on a pretty constant basis around here. So just to throw those out there. And so now moving forward, we're going to head down 31, and we're going to have a tough matchup against a Plymouth team that is now 3-3. They're 0-1 in the conference. but they're coming off back-to-back losses to Northwood and Marion. What do you know about Plymouth early on, and what are your thoughts going into this one?
Just watching them, I think they're a much improved team. They play hard, a physical team. They have some guards that you know look the part. I think that the Wolf kid shoots the ball really well. He's probably one of the better shooters we're going to see.
44% for the season so far.
That we're going to see this year. He gets it off quick, and was really confident in his shot. And the other kid around the basket is drastically improved over the past couple of years, and was able to kind of expand his game out to 15 feet, put the ball on the floor a little bit, and definitely a threat around the rim. So.
And that kid you're talking about, his name is Ellerly. He's a 6'6" junior.
Yeah. Yep. So those are two guys that we really need to key in on, and they do a great job. I think they're playing a little faster this year than they have in the past. So we got to make sure that we handle that. I think we may see a couple different defenses against them just to try to pack it in. But at their place, and so it's definitely going to be a contest.
So I noticed looking at film, at least some similarities between Plymouth and Northridge. Both of them like to run, like you said. They got a big guy in the middle, surrounded by shooters, which is exactly how I just described Northridge a few minutes ago. Do they remind you of Northridge at all? And do you think the game against Northridge helps us prepare for this matchup?
I can see some similarities for sure. Yeah, I don't think they shoot it quite as well as a team as Northridge does, but they do have some pieces that can fill it up. Number 10. I'm not going to even try the last name there, but number 10 for Plymouth as well shoots the ball really well. So they got some guys, yes, that can fill it up quickly. So we gotta get back in transition and really guard them.
All right, and after the Plymouth game, then we're doing something pretty interesting. On Friday, we're going to take off to Kokomo to take part in the first of 2 holiday tournaments that we'll be participating in. We don't necessarily need to get too deep into it at the moment, but our first matchup in that tournament is going to be Mishawaka, which is interesting. It's kind of a statewide tournament, and we drew somebody that's local. But, of course, they're not in our conference anymore, right? So maybe just talk for a second about Mishawaka, and are excited to see Mishawaka again after seeing them the last time you saw them.
Yeah, I think that's everybody's mind. Obviously, putting us out of the tournament last year, it's a team that we kind of circled on our schedule this year. So we're going to concentrate on Plymouth, but we're excited to get down to Kokomo. It's a tournament we've participated in the past couple of years, and feel like we got a chance to go down there and make some noise. So Mishawaka's going to be really talented. Return 5 or 6 guys from last year's team that was very successful. So. They have a lot of experience. They know how to play, and so it'll be a big test for us. But I think our guys are going to be ready for it.
And so just to kind of lay this out for our viewers, so again, we're going to go to that tournament. We leave Friday. We'll be there for a couple of days, come back, enjoy some Christmas time with our family, and then we're headed back down for another holiday tournament. This one is at Fisher's, correct?
Yeah.
Why is it so important to do that kind of traveling and play in those kind of games, and how does that prepare you ultimately for the sectional?
Yeah, I think a couple things. One, it allows us to play different teams from across the state. A lot of teams travel during this time of year, and so it's important that we get down to the middle of the state and showcase our guys, our team. And so, and then outside of that, just the experience of getting out of town and being together and kind of give that small college basketball feel, I feel like, to our guys, where we're staying on hotels and opportunities to watch film there in the hotel room and prepare for games, multiple games in a day. And so just a lot of things that go along with it. I think it's real important. I enjoy the time with the team, and so hopefully we can pull out some victories while we're there.
And there's also going to be an opportunity for us to go down and check out a Division I practice. Why is something like that important?
Yeah, just experience. Like we just I think it's our job as coaches at this level to provide a unique experience, and so we're going to be able to watch IUPUI practice and tour their campus. So that's something just for our guys to kind of see what it's like, and maybe use as motivation. It's something that they may want to pursue, and so we just want to keep putting those things in front of them.
All right, so I think we have covered a ton here in these last few minutes. Our Wildcats currently sit at 6-1, 4-0 in the conference. I just got done breaking down the games here with the Big Cat himself. Coming up this week, we've got a big game against Plymouth before we head out on the highway to begin our holiday tournament tour. That begins down in Kokomo with a big game against Mishawaka. So we've covered all of that stuff. When we return, we'll be here with Payton Baird, who was the catalyst of our St. Joe victory, and we will get his perspective on all things Wildcat related. So stay tuned, and we will be right back. All right, Wildcat Nation, Coach P here, and I'm back at the desk as promised with Mr. Payton Baird, our catalyst for the St. Joe game. But before we get into that one, Payton, we got to talk about something that maybe we don't want to talk about. Northridge. 42-41 loss in that one, first loss of the year for the Wildcats. Just talk about kind of how the game went, how it went down, and how the team was feeling afterwards after taking our first loss.
It was a competitive game. I thought we played hard. It was tough. We were up, I think, 16 at one point, and they came back and hit two tough free throws at the end to put them up one. And yeah, I feel like it really brought the dog out of us. You know, it showed us that we're not unbeatable, and it kept us humble for the most part.
Coach and I were just here talking a minute ago, and sometimes you learn the most from a loss, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe, hopefully, that's what we took from that thing. We rolled into the next game against St. Joe, and it was kind of a different story. And for you specifically, you came out in that first quarter and really got us off to a hot start. Were you guys motivated by that Northridge loss? Was that sort of the conversation going in, like, hey, we got to right this ship right now?
Yeah, for sure. After the Northridge game, knowing we had a game to bounce back on Friday the same week, it was just really putting our heads down in practice all week and just making sure we were going to be ready for Friday.
And not that it's ever good to lose, but we lost to Northridge, which is not a conference opponent. So it doesn't detract us from our mission to win the conference championship, whereas St. Joe obviously is a conference opponent. And also, I think, widely considered to be probably one of the other better teams in the conference, right? So just how big is that win, do you think? And how do we feel moving forward in this conference race?
I think the St. Joe win is huge. You know, I just show people where we're at and where we stand at in the conference. And, really just show people what we're about, even since we lost to them last year, showing people we're coming back and we're a different team.
Right. All right, so now tomorrow, I say tomorrow because today's Monday. We're shooting this on Monday morning. So tomorrow we're going to head down 31, and we've got a tough matchup against Plymouth, another non-conference opponent. But they're not unlike Northridge. They've got a big guy in the middle. They surround him with some shooters. They like to get up and down the floor a little bit. What do you know about Plymouth, and how do you feel going into this game?
Not too much, other than they'll slow the ball down offensively, and they're a solid team. They competed with us last year, but we came out on top, so I know there's going to be some animosity there.
So is the motivation level going to be lower now? We're not coming off of a loss. They're not a conference opponent. We're traveling to Kokomo this weekend, right, for some holiday tournaments. So lots of things going on. This Plymouth game is kind of hiding there in the middle. How focused are we as a team?
I think we're locked in.
Okay. All right. So that is Payton Baird joining us here at the desk to give us a little bit of players' perspective. A couple of big games last week, a couple of big games coming up again this week. We haven't quite figured out the schedule for the Cats Corner moving forward. Next Monday is Christmas. Obviously, our episodes ordinarily drop on Monday, so we'll keep you up to date on that as that information becomes available. So until the next episode, as always, stay tuned to our social media. There's going to be lots of information and content there, and maybe we'll see you back here at the desk sometime, Payton, if you continue to play that you have been playing. So congratulations on a good start to the season. Hopefully we get to continue to see much more of that. So until next time, I'm Coach P for the Cats Corner here with Payton Baird. So until next time, go Cats.
I want to freaking win.
Wildcats!